Good morning. Hey, Elena. I'm just spinning this morning in the backyard. It's a nice day out. Bet you can hear the birds chirping. I hope you can. Oh, you got your mug already? Oh, that was quick. I hope you like it. Oh, I'm glad you like it. And the crochet dishes go well with it too, right? Good morning, Wendy. Yes. The backyard was just sounding so amazing this morning. It's a little chilly, so I had to get my sweater on, but it's really nice out today. Mm, Still, well, I think it's gonna be sunny. Yes, that's the whole point of those small dishes, you know. And believe it or not, I did not come up with that idea. My point for making those dishes was to hold stitch markers and knitting notions, but people started posting pictures of them being used as lids for my mouths. Oh, say hi to Dan too, Wendy. Hope you got your voice back so you can tell him hi from my behalf. You're using the purple one for holding stitch markers, yeah. And the green one matches your mug, so it's perfect. It's a good match. I thought I just heard my neighbor yelling. He's waving way at the back. Hello, Paige Cups. What am I spinning? So what I'm spinning is this is 100% merino, which has been dyed by Ilga from Edgewood Garden. I don't know if you have spun with her fiber before, so that's what it looks like. Those are the colors, and that's her. You can see that. So this is Edgewood Garden Studio. Can you people see it? On that cam, maybe you can see it better on this camera. Yep, and the colorway is called Lilacs in Sun, 100% merino, 19 micron. Uh, he's fading back. So, so yeah, it's uh, it's a really fun colorway. These are not my usual colors actually. Uh, I kind of wanted to, I just wanted to spin something, and I had actually purchased two braids from her very recently for Jillian's color study, the sample along, and because I wasn't sure if the colors that I had already would work, and I kind of uh, didn't want to spend time dyeing something purposely for the study. I said that doesn't make sense. I said anyway, I love how she dyes. I like the way she puts colors together, and I have spun with her fiber before, and there is no bleeding or anything that happens. So I have been very happy with her fiber. Plus, they are very reasonable too. So, and she's local. She's like very local to me. Still, I did get it shipped. Previously, I've just gone and picked up some fiber from her as well. But this time, yeah, I did get it shipped. I got two grades. One was this, and I think the other one was a Falkland. And the colors, even though they looked good with my minis for the. Yes, do join me spinning, Elena. So, yeah, even though the colors were like, you know, quite colorful and they were looking good with the rest of my minis I had chosen, it still wasn't, everything was just way too colorful. So then I thought that, okay, that doesn't make any sense. It's just, color on color means it's all just going to look colorful. The whole point of the color study, I think, is to see if you could transform a particular color braid into something else. So that I felt was a little different. So I'm wondering where Casper is. He's here just now. Maybe he's gone to bed again. Let me quickly go check on him. So I heard my neighbor yelling. Yeah, I guess Casper just decided to go to bed. He's like, it's cold outside. I don't want to sit here. He needs to put on his sweater. Then we both will match. He has an orange sweater too. So yeah, so the colors were I think too colorful for that. And then once this braid came home, Rima saw these colors and she's like, "Oh, can you spin something for me for this?" And knit something, of course, because she doesn't knit much. Um, well, she doesn't knit at all. There's Casper. Hi, Casper. Come to say hi. Came to say hi to everyone. Oh, sit here. Good boy. Yeah, now he'll snuggle up for the warmth. He's a good snuggle dog. Everyone is saying hi to Casper. Yeah. Wait till he sees a squirrel. So yeah, I did finish the sample, the first part of the sample along pretty quickly. And I was like, hey, my wheel is free. And I think the next sample along instructions we get maybe after a week or 2 weeks. So I'm like, okay, that's like going to be a long time. I can probably spin another. Hi, Oster Mama. Yes, Casper is a cutie. He has a big underbite. And he also refers by his other name that is cute because Earlier, when we used to walk him and everything, people would just come up and go like, "Oh, he's so cute," and he would just like wag his tail and go next to them. He's like, "Yes, you know my middle name." But now we are, of course, avoiding other people interacting with us when we are at walks. This was uh, pre-corona days. Now we go out, do our business, and we are back home. He's lucky he has a nice big backyard to run around in, which is kind of weird that he comes in the backyard usually only when he has one of us sitting around here. He doesn't like to hang out in the backyard alone. If we are having dinner in the dining area, which kind of opens into the backyard, then he'll come sit on the deck. You're applying some Jacob dark salmon colored singles. Ooh, that sounds lovely. Okay, so first part of the braid is done. So another thing I kind of wanted to mention as to how I'm spinning this is I have ordered my bundles and I've split the braid in a way so that when I go to ply, this is going to be a 2 ply sample. And the way I've split it up is so that when uh, two colors, so when I do a 2 ply, uh, two different colors come together. So it's going to be kind of like a barber pull, which many people don't like, but also I think at the same time it'll kind of dilute the colors. They kind of all go together. So, oh yeah, I look forward to looking at those pictures. Yeah, definitely post pictures. So yeah, it's so I'm spinning it in such a way so half of them I'm spinning such that I start with this end first, and the other half I have wound them up so that I'm spinning with the other end. So what ends up happening is always a different color when we go to ply. There'll be a different color with uh, you know each of the different colors, so they'll all kind of mix up and do a whole different look to the whole braid. Means I can have it self-striping kind of yarn too if I do all spin it in the same direction. But I'm like, no, I kind of wanted them to blend a little bit and just see how the colors play. And it's kind of tricky as well because you can plan it out, but spinning is I'm hand spinning, so it's not super consistent when you do that. And when it's not as consistent like that, there's a chance that if even on one of your braids your colors gets off, then maybe they will start matching up instead of you trying not to match them. So I don't know what's really going to happen. At least this is what the plan is. I'm hoping to spin consistently, and it's not just spinning consistently, it's also being able to divide your braids consistently, which is tough too. It's like, it's a manual process of separating those sections out. So if one is slightly more than less, then again the colors will be off. So I said, let's try by making them as off as possible so they don't match. So in case they do match, there'll be nice surprises in between. Rather than trying to match them for every section and then when you have a non-matching section, it doesn't look good. I don't know if I'm making sense, but in my head, I made so much sense just now. So there we have our join, which hopefully will stay. So I think after this particular section that I'm spinning right now, I'll be more than uh, 1/4 of the way through spinning this entire fiber, which I started just yesterday. Yeah, sorry for getting technical about my spinning. I can get very technical very unnecessarily all the time. I have to admit though, I'm looking at like my screen on Instagram, and I'm also live on Facebook, which has multiple camera views and everything. The colors on my iPhone um, on Instagram are so much better. They are actually so much true colors. You're doing great at explaining the process. Okay, good. Give me the details. Okay, yeah. I can keep talking about details all the time. I have another bit of information regarding the details actually. And this has got to do with splitting up your fiber, right? Like I said, you kind of have to be good at knowing, being able to split your fiber evenly, and both your sections having the exact amount means it's a lot to process actually. So what I actually did is, and maybe I will next time when I spin something like this, I'll probably do a live feed as to how I'm going about separating my braid and matching the colors or not matching the colors. So once you lay out the braid, and I think Jillian, I'm pretty sure Jillian has this somewhere in her blog. It's probably a very old post, but you can kind of lay out your fabric, see how it was dyed, and then decide how many repeats it had for the whole color section. And then you can take the whole thing and kind of decide as to, okay, if you want to make colors match. Oh, we found a squirrel. See, how exciting is that? So, if it's squirrel time, can you see him run across? Anyway, it's all fenced, so he can't run away. Okay, so I was talking about color separation, right? So now you have this whole braid, you know exactly how. So this was in almost, this was 6 repeats and a little bit more, and I just cut off that extra bit. So I don't feel bad about doing that because I would rather have a proper match rather than, not having a proper. Uh, this is fiber prep. You can always use that fiber for a bat or for equalizing your sections at the end, which I'll talk about. So I take my entire fiber. I went ahead and broke it in this. It was almost the center. Yeah, it was the center after I removed that extra section. And I broke it off, and then I placed them one against the other so that none of the colors matched. This was dyed in 4 different colors. So when you put the two, if you flipped the second braid over, none of the colors match together. So I was like, okay, so this is the way I want to spin it. But I, of course, don't want to spin like the entire half braid and then the entire half braid because I'll have such long sections of just one color. So I wanted to split it further. So now you go ahead and split it. So I split the first one into 5 sections and the second one also into 5 sections. Okay. Then what you do is, like, then you would imagine, now you try to do all those 5 sections as close to each other as possible, and you can do 5, 4, 3, whatever you're comfortable with. Now, again, it's a matter of the order in which you apply those sections. So the first 5 sections, so what I did is I weighed each of those sections. So I have one pile here and the other pile on the other side. Some of them were 10 grams, some of them were 11 grams, some of them were 8, some were 7. So it's all like off by a gram or two here and there. So I just went ahead and I weighed and made sure that if this was a 11-gram section here, that I spin the 11-gram section of this one for that one to match. Then a 10 gram and a 10 gram and a 8 gram with the 8 grams, whatever value. And we were equal all the way through. except at the end that one of them was like 2 grams short. So remember that little bit of fiber that I left at the end? That one, I'm going to insert it into that last to equalize at 2 grams. And now when I'm spinning, I'm going to start with the first matching sections, the 11 and 11, the 10 and 10, 8 and 8, or whatever weights you have. If you made everything 10 grams each and 10 grams each, perfect, I can never do that. It's really hard to do that. So I matched weight by weight, and I'm going to spin in that section. And the very last section is going to be the one where I'm off on weight, and that's going to be the last section that's going to be plied anyway. So don't start with that section to ply. So after I've finished spinning this, I'm going to wind the bobbins again on storage bobbins, and then wind from first spun will get first plied, basically, because towards the end we had that little color off match happening, right? So that's what we are essentially planning to do is, so this way your colors will come together as you planned, and towards the end they might not, but it doesn't matter at the end because it's only a small 2 gram section that's going to be off. So the hope is that it works that way. Um, and you could do the similar thing as to if you wanted each color to match. So depending on how you want your matching to take place, you can kind of manipulate it this way. If you're doing 3 ply, also you can do similar things. What I like to do in a 3 ply is do two of the split my braid 3 ways, and then the first two I spin it in the same way, and the third one I flip it. So it gives a different matching sequence. And this was part of Jillian's sample along one. Plus, there is a very good digital book by Alana Wilcox called A New Spin on Color. If you like to spin with colored braids, I think it's a must have. It has, I think, close to 30 or 40 different ways to spin your colored braids. And I had done that entire sampling. I had just dyed one braid in some very weird colors. I call them Barbie barf colors. They were not my colors, but I said, you know what, let me just put everything in here and see what happens. I'm going to try every different method of spinning this colorful braid and see what results I like and what I completely hate. And it's a really good exercise. It has colored pictures. It explains how to flip your braids and for what effects, in which ways you can do 3 plies. There are ways in which you can really separate out your colors, have real like self-striping yarn. You can do it even crisper because there'll be sections like where the blue and the turquoise are half and half. Uh, what you do is you spin this section, all these multiple sections, you card them uh, with uh, with your hand cards, and you make basically another color. So this will be another crisp color in between your colors. So you don't even have like this two-tone thing happening. You make it into one color. There was that. There was ways to do a 2 ply, in which 1 ply you ply just as it is. The other ply you can just use a drum carder or a hand card and just blend the colors completely. So it's still the same colorway, but it softens the whole stripiness of it. It'll still be striped yarn because you still have your separate colors, but one of the plies will be one color which is composed of all the other colors. So that was very interesting. There were exercises in carding all the fiber once, twice, 3 times. See how many blends it takes to make. Dude, there were like so many ways to just take a regular braid and spin it. And then there are lots of tips on bigger projects like sweaters. Uh, Thank you, librarian. And yes, this is one of my hand spun sweaters as well. And It kind of is a little inspired from that book, but I had dyed this in a certain way for a whole planned project for a sweater. So I'd gotten the fiber, dyed it in three different colorways, and then spun it all up, and then it was plied so that the colors transition from one to the other. So if you look at the whole transition, that's the transition. It's like this lime green to a orangish, and then to another burgundy red, and then like a really deep burgundy. So, any other questions on spinning or comments or inputs on how you manage your colorful braids? And of course, it's absolutely fine to just fall in love with a braid, bring it home, split it up, and just start spinning. Or not split it, just spin. So I love doing that also many times. But it's fun when you can you have a really very clear picture of what you want from it. It's okay, Casper. It's just a squirrel or a rabbit. Casper, come here. Good boy, Casper. Good boy. He's so good at listening. Can you core spin with it too? Yes, you can core spin as well. I have. Hold on. Plane flying. So I have. I like core spinning with bats rather than with top prep, but I have core spin with a top prep as well, and it does work fairly well. The only thing is, because in a bat the fibers are all a little tangled and going in different directions, they kind of wrap around your core a lot more easier, I feel, than on a top where everything is lined up. So in order for the fibers on top to catch on your core and spin nicely, sometimes I land up, I won't say in general, but at least I land up adding a little bit more twist into the core when I do a core spin with a regular top. It does extend your fiber incredibly, core spinning. So you could kind of hand card these, or run them on a drum carder and separate the colors if you want them separate, and card them up that way and then core spin them. And you can always add some sparkle or something texture to it, which will make it even cool, because that's what I think core spinning is all about. It's to show the fiber in all its glory. And the core is the actual strength, and then you just wrap around the fiber around it. So that was one way you can do it. And in case you do want to just core spin your top on the core, what I have found helps is that because I'll end up putting so much extra twist into my core when I core spin with a top. I will spin it, I will wash it and finish the yarn, and it will have a lot of twist in it. Then I will run it through the wheel again to remove that extra twist. Hi everyone. So then I go ahead and I remove that extra twist so it all balances out and it's all good. So, you know, it's possible to overcome that extra twist in other ways. One thing some people do, which I have not found very useful, is actually um, pre-spinning your core in the opposite direction that you're going to spin so that you add a twist in the opposite direction. Hi, Judy. uh, because if you people think that you can compensate for that extra twist before spinning, but then it doesn't catch the fiber, so you still end up adding that extra twist in order to make the fiber catch, and you still end up with that same amount of extra twist that you were going to have. So I prefer to spin at a very large whirl. I use the bigger flyer for doing that. It has a bigger whirl on it, and so spinning really slow, core spinning, and then once the fiber gets out, I first only steam it. Usually for me, if I'm spinning a core spinning from a bat, uh, all I need to do is steam it, and that removes any kind of extra twist in it if there is. Like it feels a little unbalanced or twisty, but once I steam it, it's fine. I don't have to do anything else. Once in a while, or if I have, like if I've cold spun a top, or or even, I what is that kind of fiber prep called? Where you have blended fibers which are pulled from a hackle like a top. In that too, the fibers are all aligned. That looks beautiful core spun, but that again will add extra twist to your core. So when I get something like that, I will go ahead and steam it, and usually the steaming doesn't help. Then I go ahead and wash it and dry it completely, and usually that will remove any extra twist if there was any. Now, in the third case scenario, if I had steamed it, didn't remove the twist, if I washed it, and like there is no harm in washing your yarn, you have to wash it eventually, your finished garment. So wash it and see if it still doesn't remove the twist, then you can pass it through your wheel in the opposite direction to remove that extra twist, and you're good. So there are many ways to remove that extra twist. I just don't find adding twist to your core previously helping me a lot. I find it really hard to spin on that core, or maybe I need a different kind of core. I don't know. So I enjoy core spinning a lot. I have received some amazing bats recently. Some from, well, two beautiful bats from Nicole Frost of Frost Yarn. If you want something colorful, amazing, inspired by pictures and stuff, she does such an amazing job representing color schemes and textures and everything in bats. So it's hard to get her bats, I'll have to admit. But it's just she does amazing stuff and amazing colors. The dyes are color fast. They're not going to run or bleed when you wash them or do anything with them, and nice saturated colors if that's the kind of you know bats and things that you like. uh, there'll be silk and all kinds of bamboo and pearls and textures in it as well. Sparkle if you want sparkle, if you don't want sparkle, lots of options available as well. But like I said, she's not always making bats. Um, so I just got two big bats from her. Each one is like 50 grams. Is it 50 grams each? I think so, yeah. Or maybe more. I didn't even check their weights. I just assumed they were 50-gram bats. No, 50 grams would be 2 ounces. No, I think these are 5-ounce bats. Oh, these are even bigger. Yes, these are 5-ounce bats. So that's like 120, 130 grams, something like that. Yeah. And so I got two of those, which I'll be course. I think I'll be course spinning. Yeah, those are huge bats. She has. I forget the model of her drum carder. It's the automated one. That's a huge one. So she can just feed fiber in it, and it's amazing. I'm like, if a person wants to be in the business of selling bats, that's the kind of drum carder you need. Because I've used, um, you know, hand cranking bat, and oh, it's so much work. Not that, with a carder like that, it's not work. Drum carding, making bats essentially is a lot of work. The carding part is one thing where, okay, it's automated, so it's easier versus moving by your hand. It's a lot harder on your hand. The harder part of making a good bat, oh, the neighbor's dog is here. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so the harder part about making the bats, any kind of interesting bat, is actually having all your ingredients together. So basically, you need to dye stuff, different textures. If you want top, silk, your locks, bamboo, you need to know how to dye all these different elements, how to make color schemes, how to put them all together so you're not creating mud, you're not creating crazy texture, which is even harder to spin. Like it needs to be good to spin as well. There's just so many factors in creating your recipe for making a good bat. And then if you want sparkle, then what color sparkle? At what time do you add the sparkle? Do you want to add silken oils? Do you want to add colored silken oils? Do you just want to add white silken oils? There's just so many options available. And putting them all together is a lot of hard work in bats. And Nicole does an amazing job of that. Good morning, Nikki. So, so I really appreciate people who make bats, and I think they are always worth the money they're asking for, because you realize these things once you make your own bat and you go like, yeah, I borrow a friend's drum carder, Kent's uh, drum carder, and it's a lot of work just prepping all the elements. Like he has a drum carder, and it's still like every once in a while even he'll buy bats because he knows it's a lot of work. It's the if you know you're processing some um, a fleece or something like that, then it's kind of easier if you have a drum carder. But making really cool bats is a lot of work. So Nicole does an amazing job of that. The other bat that I got, which probably might be the next one I spin, is one I got from Esther Rogers, who's Jazz Turtle on Instagram. She has a lot of classes and things on spinning and making bats. She has a blueprint class as well, my blueprint class on making bats, or a fiber prep actually. So it has all kinds of fiber prep, blending colors, which I've attended, and with the bats that she sent me, uh, I got the DVDs as well for her classes. I think she did for Interweave on how to make bats and spin color and make art yarn. So lots of technique. Yes. Who are you referring to, Elena? Is it Nicole? Hi, Nancy. Well, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the view of my wheel. It's a Lendrum wheel, and the I like so many things about this wheel. The only one thing I didn't like about it is the way it looked. It just looked like this light birch colored IKEA furniture, which was one thing which always bothered me about this wheel. And I was not even sure when I was, whether this was a wheel I wanted to purchase. It was in my budget, and I was glad a friend of mine, Melody Thomas, uh, you know, gave me her Lendrum wheel to try out, and I kept it with me for almost a year, and I love spinning on it. It's great for doing lace weight all the way up to bulky yarn, plus doing core spinning. It's so easy to change bobbins, change the flyer head. It's so light enough that I can easily go from my study, come to the backyard, go to the living room. It's very lightweight, very compact. It folds up to some extent, but it's not airplane travel ready. But to travel in a car somewhere, it's pretty convenient. Everything was good except this light colored word, and it's just plain. And I was like, okay, I am sure I want to buy a wheel, this wheel. There are other wheels I had my eye on, like the Aura and the Majacraft wheels. Some of them are just so beautiful. But I knew they were out of my budget. This one was in my budget, but the whole thing was the look of the wheel, which I didn't kind of care for. So first I thought I would, just stain it into a dark color or something. But I thought that might not be very successful because I haven't stained wood successfully or evenly in general. I've tried it for some projects and I've been like, it was okay. It was better when I didn't do anything. So what I decided to do was paint on it instead with my designs like I do on my pottery. So I did all this slip decoration work on the bobbins as well and on the main wheel head. That's the only places I did on the front and back. And it's like totally made the wheel my wheel. So that was a way for me to make my wheel look pretty for me. And now it's very easily recognizable as my wheel. It doesn't look like IKEA furniture anymore. I think they also like a special anniversary wheel or something that introduces wheel as in walnut or some other wood, which looked so beautiful. But again, I think the price was higher and it was like a limited edition thing they did once. So, so it's not regularly available. But I actually, so I went hunting on Craigslist and I found somebody selling this wheel, uh, getting rid of actually this wheel along with a whole bunch of looms and everything. They had a whole bunch of things they were trying to get rid of, and the wheel was also one of them. She had, she had just consulted somebody as to what the value should be, and it was she had priced it like $100 or so less than a brand new wheel. And it I think it was still functional and everything, but it was not very clean, and all the drive bands and all the stuff that was all broken and brittle. The plastic foot holders, they were all brittle and broken. Um, it was squeaking like crazy, and so it needed some maintenance. So I was like, no, I'll offer you half the money because I have to get all these parts and kind of make sure. And I couldn't really test it out much out there because the drive band wasn't working, and well, it was like in 100 different pieces. She said, see, the dry band is there. I just picked it up and the dry band like broke into a million pieces. It was so brittle and old. So, and I think also that could be the reason my uh, why I felt comfortable painting the wheel, because I had not spent that much money. I doubt if I would have purchased the wheel brand new, I would be like, oh, let's paint on it now. This was like, okay, I didn't spend that much money on the wheel, so worst comes to worst, let me try out the painting. If it doesn't come out, I'll try to wipe it off. If it doesn't come out properly, eh, okay, we'll make it work, kind of thing. So I'm glad the wheel got another life, a better life, gets used a lot more now than sitting in somebody's garage. Well, thank you, Nancy. Yes, I like to personalize some things. My electric Hanson wheel, that I haven't personalized. I just love it the way it is. Um, Though after seeing my wheel like this, my friend Keston Davis, she usually joins us on Instagram or Facebook. Uh, she asked me to decorate her Hanson wheel similarly. So I did a similar pattern. Hers was a real dark. I think her Hanson was a cherry wood, so it was a nice dark wood on which I did the decoration with silver because she's a big Star Trekky fan. I don't know what the reference was. I'm not that much into sci-fi, so she told me the colors she wanted. Uh, the silver with red accents, and that's what I did for her. And her wheel came out really nice too. So, so I have ideas. If I wanted to decorate my hands, and I could, but that wheel I kind of like that natural dark wood. I don't think I need to enhance it any further. Is that Leila calling you? Yeah. Casper just wants love. Today was a day I just woke up and it was just I love the sound of birds in the morning and I was like, oh, I should sit outside and spin. And it's always nice to have company, so I'm glad you all could join in. There, and Casper has company too. Found another squirrel, I guess, or a rabbit. I have well, I kind of maybe have an idea where the rabbit's coming from because we have put like chicken wire at the bottom of the fence throughout, but there are some places where we haven't, so that's the only place I think they're getting in and out from. But the rabbits still sneak in. The temperature out here, I think right now it's like in probably like 50, 51 or so. So it's not exactly warm, but you know, that's why I wore a sweater. The birds nicely complement the sound of your wheel, yes, and the dog. Casper makes sure that none of the rabbits or squirrels are interrupting my spinning. That's what he's there for. Yes, it's a very glorious spring morning. This, throughout the year, people usually have like their favorite weather and stuff, and many people like summer, and I like summer too. But what I really like is the spring period when the temperature is, getting warmer. It's not super hot. I can sit outside in the backyard till almost 2 o'clock. It's gonna be like this. It's even when the sun hits, it's not too bad. In the summer, it's like in a backyard, like by 1 or 2 o'clock, the sun hits so bad, it's hard to sit out. And means it's not, we'll still hit like 75. It doesn't hit like 100 degrees, like even Nikki. But so it will rarely hit 100, but still it's too warm to, sit in one place and be spinning because the sun is just hitting on you. So I like the springtime the most, and then the other transitional weather which I like is from summer when you're going into winter and you get that wonderful fall period in between because I love fall colors, as you can see with my sweater. So I like those between winter and summer, the weathers we get. I call them the transitional weathers, the spring and the fall, which are kind of there to prep you up for what's upcoming. Upcoming for very cold weather or upcoming for very warm weather. Yeah, those in between weathers are my favorites. So yeah, from like September all the way up till November, I really like that. part of the weather too. And April, May, almost till like early June, mid June, I really like that. July, I think it just gets, since it's nice, I won't complain, since I do like the weather then, but I just don't sit out that much then. I just get very warm very quickly. Like I won't sit out and spin for long hours. I like going on walks and stuff, but especially with Casper, but it's not sit at one place in the sun kind of weather. Kind of need to sit in the shade. At least I do. So might as well make the most of this weather right now. The yard needs work, which I am not a yard person. Uh, we are fortunate to get such a big backyard, or unfortunate, whichever way you look at it, because that was one thing which was not high on our agenda list. Because firstly, we didn't have a dog and didn't have any plans. Hey, Clems and Clems. I was talking about drum carders. These are the people who make amazing drum carders. Y'all should go check them out. So the drum carder that I borrow from a friend occasionally to use is one of their drum carders, Clems and Clems. Um, it's really nice to use. I like using it a lot whenever I get a chance to play with it, that is. And I have one on my wish list. Eventually, I'll get one. Yeah, I do have their hand cards. Those were gifted to me by someone, I think. But I really would like the drum carder. The only thing is, I like the one which is motorized. Means I'm like, because I have used the manual one. That's the one which I use, and it's really easy to use and it's enough for my needs. But when you see a motorized one working, you just go like, oh, that's so much fun. It's so quick, it's so convenient, and it's funny that none of the work we do is quick. Like, you know, cleaning fleece, dyeing fiber, spinning it, then making the yarn, then knitting it or weaving with it. It's such a long process to make a garment. Oh, where's Bren Shiva? Is she here? Is Bren here? She is so amazing. I have been, holding on one of her braids that I got last year. And do say hi if you're here, Bren. I'm sure I'm pronouncing her name wrong because I've not met her in person. I was hoping to meet her at Flyaway this year, but that didn't happen. I did get a braid from her last year in fall colors. I'm forgetting what. I think the colorway was called Fallen Leaves or something like that. Uh, I just loved it. It came home and I'm like, okay, I'm never spinning this. It's just like sitting in its beautiful braid form. Your friend has an e-spinner and loves it. We have a manual friend, mutual friend who sells wheels and spinning equipment. Oh, cool. Yeah, I like my e-spinner a lot as well. I usually this kind of traditional spinning mostly I do it on my e-spinner, and that's of course so easy to bring out as well compared to this wheel. But like I think you were the one who were mentioning, right? Beautiful spring morning, the sound of the birds going well with the sound of the wheel. That's what I wanted to hear this morning. I wanted to hear the clanking of my wheel, and that e-spinner doesn't make any sound. It's so silent. It's a good spinning wheel for when we are watching television in the evening, and that's when I like to, you know, be on that spinning wheel in front of the TV so I'm not distracting other people and we can hear the television. But even this wheel, you can see it barely makes a sound. It just has a soft clanking sound, and I think even that would go away if I oiled it again. I do oil my wheel every time I switch bobbins. Maybe that's a little excessive, but it keeps it functioning very smoothly. Especially like I told you how I got it, in what condition. It can use the extra love. So Nancy, was Bren online? That's why you said hi to her. I've just like been communicating with her over Facebook. Thank you, Kelly. I'm glad you like my video. I like it too. Let's see if we can change the angle so you can. Okay, is that better? I think the light was just hitting it so harsh that her name popped up. She was here for a few moments. Oh, okay. Casper, come. Casper, come here. Yeah. The neighbor's dog is in our backyard, so Casper has gone to the fence to say hi, which is basically barking like crazy, as though he's completely lost it. So he's just waiting for her to appear next to the fence. And I can hear the neighbor commanding his dog to stay away from the fence. And Casper is like right there already. Casper, come. Come here. Hey, Casper. Good boy, Casper. Come here. Good boy. He's making his lazy walk towards me. Like, I really don't want to come. But you do. Yes, Casper. Come here. Yeah, they're all trying to protect me, I guess. Okay, I'm running really low on power here, but let's continue. I've been spinning for almost an hour now. Is that right? Yeah, exactly 1 hour. How I know that is when my Instagram video kills itself. Let's see. This good boy is back. Casper is back. For almost, I guess, a year or maybe even more, we were trying to, uh, every time he went bark at the fence, we just kept screaming at him, no, no, no. And over the last year, we have kind of started just telling him to come here, and then if he does come, he gets a treat. So he's just been learning that, and we have been learning that it's better to call him over rather than scold him for barking. And he just leaves what he's doing and he comes towards us, which is what is a very important command. But of course, it doesn't work all the time. I'm almost done with this section of the braid. Hi, Elena. Thank you for joining in again. I just have a little bit more of this braid left. I might even stop the video after that because actually, my phone is dying of power. I think it has only 10% left. So, oh yeah, husband is fascinated by spinning wheels. Yeah, they are amazing pieces of equipment, really. Dogs have minds of their own. Oh, yes, for sure. He is very selective on his hearing and obeying commands. Or you need to get breakfast. Okay, I hope you got some spinning done, Elena. Hope I gave you decent company this wonderful morning. Yeah, my power is now at 10%. So we'll continue on Instagram till my power dies. Oh, good. That's good to hear. Got some spinning done. It's a very relaxing process spinning. Um, but I go through phases. I find that once spring hits, I kind of like to spin more than knit. You have three cats, and you agree about selective hearing. Yeah, and Casper has all these ways of communicating with us, which now we are so much in tune with him. Uh, in the mornings, he likes going on walks with me, but in the afternoon, he likes going on a walk with Rima. Um, and because I take him for a walk in the neighborhood, she takes him in the CAR. I don't want to mention that name because he gets very excited every time he hears the word CAR. So, you know what I'm talking about. So he will, so yeah, uh, so in occasionally if she's working and she's busy, she cannot take him. She'll ask me to take him, and I'm like, okay, I'll just take him in the neighborhood. And he like is very intently listening to a conversation. And the minute I tell him that mommy is busy and daddy is gonna take you for a walk, he lets out such a sigh that, oh, he'll just have this big droopy face. He'll be sitting on top of the landing, not willing to come down, just being stuck to Rima. That, but I want her to take me out in the CAR. So Very, very intelligent dog, for sure. And he just looks at my face. He's like, I know you're not going to take me out anywhere fun. And then occasionally, if he sees me pick up the keys, the CAR keys, he just goes nuts. Then he'll do laps around the house, all excited. And I do take him out to the park and things every now and then. Well, thank you, Susan. Yes, they both are my hand spuns. The hat is one of my earliest hand spuns that I did, and then knitted it. And I always hated when there's that little bit of fiber left. You can't hold it properly to make your yarn even. I find it so annoying. I need to. I don't want to waste the yarn just because. So let's see if we can still join it. There we go. Because then towards the end, since I'm trying to hold the fiber, I'll end up thinning it out a lot more. Sometimes. This time, hey, I saved it. So yeah. Anyway. So yeah, it's so that was one. See, I've labeled each of my bundles because they are all supposed to go in a certain order. The next one is D, 1D. So that's the one that gets spun next. And again, starting with the way I have bound this, which is yellow first. Just feather that out. There, the neighbor's dog is here. There, I made the next one. It's okay, Casper, come here. Hi, Sonica. So, what's, is it? No, it's Sonia Costa. Casper! Casper, come! Casper! Come! Come here! Okay, you use a similar technique to add fiber to my fly tying thread. Watch how my voice works. It spins like a lathe. It's the same principle. Yeah, shows love to watch. Yeah, that's that's kind of the way it is. Casper, come! Good boy, Casper. Did you say hi to Georgia? Yes. Was that fun? Look at you. You're all dirty again. You're such a dirty dog, Casper. You're just like me. Yeah. Yes. Yes. He's so proud of what he did. Silly dog. Silly, 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 dirty dog. Dirty dog. Now sit here. Look at your feet. Who's gonna clean you up now? Who's gonna Who's gonna clean Casper? Who's gonna clean Casper? That's the thing. It's like summertime. It's all nice to be out in the backyard for him, but oh, his legs trap dirt like nobody's business. So it's every time he walks in, it's like wipe his feet down, and especially when he goes on his barking spree, like he just went. He's made a big dirt puddle out there by just barking at the neighbor's dog, and every time he goes there, he just gets even more messier. So he needed to say hi to her, say good morning. He did. Weird way of greeting your neighbors. Hi, Nagara. Weaving studio. Ooh, I need to get back on my loom someday. Someday. Hi, Joanne Socks. How are you doing? Are you still cranking a lot of socks? I need to get back on my sock machine. I have not cranked socks. Actually, I have an order to crank around 6 socks, and I need to get to that. I need to actually do them today. I need to ship them out on Monday. But I was just focused on so many other things, so I was taking a break from that. You need to learn to spin yarn. It's a very relaxing process, and once you learn to spin and can make your own yarns to the way you want them to be, it's a very satisfying process. It's just like the process of knitting, right? It's once you knit your very first garment or a hat or gloves or socks or whatever and they fit perfectly, there is such a sense of achievement. So imagine that sense elevated to a whole different level once you have made your own yarn and spun your own yarn and then made something with it. And once you knit or weave with hand spun yarn, uh, you will realize the difference between commercial yarn and your own yarn. It's really such it's a whole different pleasure. Just the process of knitting with hand spun and the finished product too. Like the hat I'm wearing and the sweater I'm wearing, these are all hand spun and hand spun by me, dyed and everything. So it's really very rewarding. Then there's a weird fuzzy bit which you can remove. Okay, I think my Instagram, if anyone was watching that video, as well as on Facebook, my Instagram video died because my phone died. Nancy, I'm in Washington State, just south of Seattle, around half an hour south of Seattle, in a city called Federal Way. Where are you at, Nancy? need to get a drop spindle. That's one thing which you're in Denver, Colorado. Oh, cool. Has it started warming up out there, or how's the weather there? I'm finding these tiny eyelashes in my fiber. I think they are maybe my own. I'm not sure. Which is kind of weird, right? Not hair, eyelashes. It snowed last week. Wow. Yeah, we don't get a lot of snow, which I'm very grateful for. I love looking at it, but oh, the few times it has snowed here, since our state is really not prepared for it, we kind of go into quarantine every time that happens. Hey, is Stephen B here too? Hey, Stephen B. We were just talking about Nicole and how amazing her wonderful bats are. I just received two bats from her, which I'll be spinning up later, course spinning them. And we have been enjoying your videos with your mom. Hope everyone is well. Nancy, you're good at seeing who all are joining in because I can't see the list of people joining in unless I stop spinning and seeing who's watching. So thank you for making announcements. Casper! Casper, come! Gone again. So, so the one thing which I want to try is doing super coils, which I have done before. Uh, what happens with super coils is basically you spin a thick yarn or a coarse spun yarn or any kind of yarn, and then Casper, Casper, come. Uh-uh. Hey. Oh my goodness. Casper. Casper, come here. Where's mommy? He was just getting. Casper, come here. Hey. Here. Silly dog. It's all the meet and greet with the neighbor's dog. That's all it is. Oh, so I was talking about super coils. And so what you do is you spin this real thick yarn and then you have another core on which you ply that thick yarn on and you scooch it up every time. So it makes these, real thick bumpy coils and makes a real nice bulky yarn. And I want to try that out. The only thing with that is it puts a lot of twist in your core. And I have done it before, and you can't remove the twist like I was talking about earlier with core spinning. It just kind of stays there. Uh, what you can do is you can wind your core on a drop spindle and have that hanging from your wheel while you're doing the super coils and removing the twist while you're doing super coils. And I have tried that. I have one drop spindle, but my drop spindle is a very precious drop spindle to me, and it's one of those things in which you can land up dropping it more often. Maybe, I don't know. I just feel a little uncomfortable using that drop spindle for doing that particular process. So I'm looking for a more reasonable drop spindle to get. So I need to look online and search for one. So if anyone has any suggestions, do let me know. Casper, come here. Come, Casper. Now the birds have gotten silent. Yeah, it's 10:43. So, boy, I've been spinning for a long time. Made good progress though. Gosh, after doing one more section, I'll be done with 50% of this. That's insane. Yeah, my spinning productivity has been super high. Okay. Casper has decided to go inside, and I need to wipe his paws because before he drags dirt all over the house. So, thank you everyone for joining. I will take a pause here and maybe come out later. Alright? Take care. Have a good Sunday.